first.
Oh, thank you. Helen, are you ready for bed?
Yes, Mommy. Can I stay up and watch the Nutcracker?
What time's it on?
9 o'clock.
Sure, you can watch that.
Can I stay up until you get home?
No, darling.
Hey, hello, and welcome to my channel. And as you can see from the title, today we're talking about Eyes Wide Shut. But since next week is Christmas, I thought I would do something a bit different today by looking at the strange connection I think I found between Eyes Wide Shut and that Christmas classic, The Nutcracker, which is sort of based on an old German fairy tale of sorts about a young girl named Clara who, on Christmas Eve, has a magical journey that involves a Nutcracker doll and a mysterious character named Drosselmeyer. And I can already see some similarities to Eyes Wide Shut, so let's get started. Well, first, let's briefly look at the story and popularity of the Nutcracker. And the story is from an old German fairy tale and is set a couple of hundred years ago on Christmas Eve. Basically, on Christmas Eve, as a family decorates their tree, and after they give presents out to the children, a strange character named Drosselmeyer appears, who has brought lifelike dolls with him. He's a bit of a magician, but he's also a toy maker, as well as Clara's godfather, Clara being the young girl who is the main character. And he also gives her a Nutcracker doll. Of course, the Nutcracker is also famous as a ballet with music by Tchaikovsky, but it was George Balanchine's reworking of it for the New York City Ballet in 1954 that sort of turned this into a holiday classic. Of course, our first Nutcracker reference in Eyes Wide Shut comes in the opening scene at the Harford apartment, after Dr. Bill and his wife Alice have gotten dressed up to go to that fancy Ziegler party, when they go to talk to their daughter Helen by the Christmas tree. And it's at this point we get our first and most obvious Nutcracker connection, as Helen asks her parents if she can stay up and watch the Nutcracker. Of course, she says this right in front of a Christmas tree. Not sure if it's Christmas Eve, but it does set the scene. Now, the Nutcracker story actually begins at a Christmas Eve party, and I would relate that to the Ziegler fancy dress party, where Bill and Alice meet Ziegler and dance and mingle at the party until Dr. Bill meets an old friend, Nick Nightingale, and from there, the night only gets stranger. Now, in the Nutcracker, we have the mysterious character of Drosselmeyer, the Toymaker, who is also a bit of a magician. Now, the magician part I would obviously relate to Red Cloak, who I believe is a high-level magician. But Drosselmeyer also produces 4 lifelike dolls that then come to life and start dancing, and I would relate that quite explicitly to Millich and his costume shop, where I proved in my video, Mannequins Move at the Costume Shop, which I'll link in the description box below, that the mannequins do, in fact, change places and come alive in a way. So Millich and Drosselmeyer both have life-sized dolls, quote unquote, who come to life. Also, in the story, Clara gets a Nutcracker doll, and after everyone goes to sleep, she goes back to check on the Nutcracker. But in a strange way, I relate the Clara character to Dr. Bill Harford, since he also goes out after everyone has gone to sleep, ending up at the mansion party. In a way, we specifically are shown multiple shots of Bill walking the night streets alone. It's a noir feeling to these shots, but sort of hints he's doing this after everyone else is asleep. I should mention here that the Nutcracker also transforms more than once in the story, going from a small toy Nutcracker to a life sized Nutcracker, and then later to a prince. And I would again relate that to the costume shop, where several mannequins actually transform, like this one with the Turkish style headdress, who seems much taller here, more or less taller than the mannequins next to him. But when he changes places in an instant, look, he's a bit shorter here. So he has shrunk in size a bit, a strange transformation. Now, I know I've left out the Sugar Plum Fairy and that whole part of the story, but I'm not sure that part of the Nutcracker actually relates to Eyes Wide Shut. So let's move on to the toy store section of the film. Now, I have not been able to spot an actual Nutcracker toy here in this scene, but there are many dolls here. And if you look to the left, you can see what looks like a fairy tale castle. So there's that connection. But you'll also notice this box here that says Carlotta on it. And the main character in the Nutcracker is named Clara, which is a bit similar. So, to sum up, today we looked at some of the connections between Eyes Wide Shut and the Christmas classic, The Nutcracker. Of course, both of these are stories that take place at Christmas. And there's also the New York City connection, since Eyes Wide Shut takes place in New York, and the New York City Ballet has a celebrated ballet version of the Nutcracker. We also have a magical figure named Drosselmeyer, who has life-sized dolls that he brings to life, which can be compared to Mr. Millich from the costume shop and some of those mannequins who seem to move as well as transform. And since transformation is a major theme in the Nutcracker, we can't ignore Red Cloak and his mansion rituals, since at one point all of the masks around him seem to transform into much more elaborate ones. So, when Helen asks to stay up to watch the Nutcracker in the first scene, it may be a bit of foreshadowing that there will be some strange characters and some strange transformations in this film. Well, that's my new video about the connection between Eyes Wide Shut and the Nutcracker. I hope you liked it. Now, next week is actually Christmas, so I won't be uploading anything next week. But I will be back the week after that with a new video, which seems like that might actually be the new year. And a big thank you to my awesome comment section. You guys always notice so many details. And YouTube does now have a hype button, which, if you click on it in the mobile app, it will help out smaller channels like mine. I don't think it's on the laptop yet, though. And of course, it does help me if you hit that subscribe button and like the video. But either way, my name is Shim. Thank you for spending time with me, and have a great day.
Looks like alive, huh?
Yes, it's wonderful.
Come.